While Sean Diddy Combs remains locked up in a federal detention center awaiting trial, the embattled music mogul continues to get hit with a wave of civil lawsuits accusing him of sexual assault. But as more accusers come forward, another pattern is seemingly starting to emerge, with some plaintiffs alleging they were underage when Diddy assaulted them. Since Diddy's arrest more than a month ago, the music producer has been slapped with about a dozen lawsuits. Under the most recent batch of lawsuits filed, one included a woman who says she was just 13 years old when she was raped by Combs and another celebrity while she attended an MTV Music Video Awards after party in 2000. The suit was filed anonymously. The plaintiff is an unnamed woman from Alabama and is only referred to as Jane Doe. According to her suit, she was attempting to get into the VMAs when she met the Bad Boy Records founder's limo driver, who allegedly told her Diddy liked younger girls, and she fit what Diddy was looking for and invited her to an after party. So then the 13-year-old returned. The driver took her to the party, which according to the complaint was in a large white house. Once inside, Jane Doe signed a non-disclosure agreement and quickly recognized many celebs at the after party. But after accepting one drink, she began to feel woozy and lightheaded and laid down in an empty bedroom. That's where she encountered Combs and a male and female celebrity, and Diddy allegedly said, "You are ready to party." The female plaintiff says as she became more disoriented, she was raped by the male celebrity known as Celebrity A, while Diddy and the female celebrity known as Celebrity B watched. After the unknown celeb was done, then Combs allegedly raped the 13-year-old while the two unknown celebs watched. Combs then tried to force the girl to perform oral sex on him, but after Jane Doe hit him, he stopped. According to the suit, the then teenager grabbed her clothes, fled the after party, and found a gas station where she called her father. Jane Doe isn't the only underage accuser to allege they were sexually assaulted by the mogul. Another accuser, whose claim was filed in New York Superior Court, also filed anonymously, this one using the moniker John Doe. In his claim, the unnamed plaintiff said he was an aspiring artist, and Diddy promised to connect him with influential industry leaders and assured Doe that he could make him a star. Then another accuser, who was an unnamed man from North Carolina, said he was just 16 years old and also hoping to break into the music industry when he met Diddy at his now infamous white party in the Hamptons in '98. This John Doe claims the Bad Boy Records founder took interest in the then teenage boy and allegedly told the male plaintiff he had the look and could transform anybody into a star. At the Celebrity Pact event, John Doe claims his pleasant conversation with Diddy took an unexpected turn for the worst when the mogul allegedly told the teen he needed to drop his pants. According to the suit, Diddy said it was a rite of passage to becoming a star, and it also was a way to prove himself, as the producer allegedly said, "Don't you want to break into the business?" John Doe claims he immediately felt uncomfortable, froze, and did not know what to do. But out of fear, anxiety, and imbalanced power dynamics, he dropped his pants and exposed his penis. Then Combs moved closer and grabbed John Doe and held onto his genitals for an extended period of time. After the alleged assault, according to his suit, Diddy continued with the party as if nothing happened. Diddy, through his attorneys, has denied all allegations against him. In a statement, Combs' attorneys say, quote, "Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts, their legal defenses, and the integrity of the judicial process. In court, truth will prevail that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted anyone, adult or minor, man or woman." Diddy has also previously denied claims he allegedly gang raped an unnamed woman in 2003 when she was just 17 years old. This Jane Doe filed her lawsuit in December of 2023 in the U.S. District Court in the Southern District of New York. The unnamed female plaintiff alleged she was raped by Combs, an unnamed assailant, and the former president of Bad Boy Records, Harv Pierre. Jane Doe claims she met Pierre and the unnamed defendant at a lounge in Detroit, and Pierre convinced her to board a jet to New York City. According to the suit, before they left, Pierre smoked crack cocaine and forced Doe to perform oral sex on him. Doe says she was taken to a studio in New York City where Combs, Pierre, and the third defendant plied her with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol. And the three men took turns raping her in a bathroom at the studio after she was too inebriated to consent. According to the woman's suit, the men left her on the bathroom floor once they were done, and she was flown back to Michigan. Harv Pierre denied the accusations, writing in a statement, quote, "This is a tale of fiction. I have never participated in, witnessed, nor heard of anything like this ever. These disgusting allegations are false and a desperate attempt for financial gain," end quote. Diddy has previously denied the gang rape accusations as well. But as the mogul remains behind bars, it's likely these aren't the last of the accusations he could face, including from minors at the time of the alleged abuse. Houston-based attorney Tony Busby has previously said he vetted the allegations of at least 120 people, including his youngest client who said he was 9 years old when allegedly sexually abused by Combs. So could Diddy face child sex abuse charges? At this time, no superseding indictment has come down, but federal prosecutors say more charges could be on the way. But right now, Diddy has pleaded not guilty to charges including sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Well, I have a great guest to break this down further and answer the question, is it possible that Sean Combs could face child sex abuse charges? And that's former federal prosecutor as well as president and co-founder of West Coast Trial Lawyers. That's Nima Rahmani. Nima, always so great to see you. At this time, there's no superseding indictment against Diddy, and he's denied all the allegations against him. But do you think it's possible he could be criminally charged with child sexual abuse or sexual assault?
Elizabeth, I do. I think it's not only possible, it's likely, and this is why. It's important for prosecutors and law enforcement to protect minors, but not just the sex abuse of minors element. It really takes away Diddy's primary defense in this case, is that the sexual contact happened, but it was all consensual. And we know that this is the defense because this is what his lawyers are saying. Because, of course, there's nothing unlawful with consensual sexual contact between adults, no matter how freaky it is. Obviously, minors cannot consent. So Diddy would have to argue that the sex didn't happen at all, which is a much more difficult defense, especially when a lot of this was allegedly videotaped.
And can any of the John or Jane Doe accusers be called as witnesses for Diddy's trial, the ones that were underage at the time of the alleged assaults?
They can. Children can testify in criminal cases. Obviously, many of these individuals are no longer minors, but even if they were, they could testify and they would have to testify. Under the law, because of the confrontation clause of our Constitution, Combs and his lawyers have the right to cross-examine the victims. So unless those victims are ready, willing, and able to testify, prosecutors are not going to add them to the indictment. They want to make sure that anyone they allege is willing to come testify, both before the grand jury potentially, but especially at trial.
And it's not the first time we're hearing of allegations of an accuser being underage at the time of the sexual assault, but the most recent accusers who were underage at the time they're allegedly assaulted by Diddy, some are men, some are women. Why do you think they're coming forward now?
I think there's a few reasons victims are coming forward. There is a Me Too type situation. We know that once Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit in November, that really empowered and gave a voice to others to do as well, because they thought to themselves, well, here's Combs' girlfriend of more than 1 decade. If she can tell her story about terrible physical and sexual violence, I can as well. The other reason is Diddy's in custody and his bail has been denied. So he's going to sit in jail until at least May, when his trial date is, assuming the Second Circuit doesn't overturn that detention order. So folks that might have been scared of Combs or his entourage may be less scared now that he's in custody. And the third reason is money. Diddy was reportedly worth $1 billion. He's probably lost a significant portion of that net worth, but he's still worth well over $100 million. And whether it's the statute of limitations or whether an opportunity to get paid, if people don't file a lawsuit relatively soon, some of these claims, the statute may have already run or may run soon. That's why many of these victims have filed in New York, because both New York State and then New York City did open up the statute of limitations for civil claims like this.
And I know in our previous interviews, we've discussed a pattern amongst these lawsuits, and that pattern being control and power. And according to the most recent batch of lawsuits, the male plaintiffs who were underage at the time of the alleged assault claims Diddy promised to make their careers or get them in touch with the right people to advance their careers. But it came with strings attached, that either being they had to drop their pants or they were drugged and sexually assaulted. What are your thoughts on Diddy allegedly waging that power to allegedly take advantage of the victims?
Well, it's important, and this is why. The difference between consensual sex and sex trafficking is force, fraud, or coercion. So that's something that prosecutors need to prove their case. So obviously force, we know what force is. If Diddy's security or himself, they're using physical force to compel men or women to participate in sex acts, that's sex trafficking, that's rape. So force is easy enough. Fraud, probably less likely in a case like this, or, we do see it in sex trafficking cases. We recently saw it in a sex trafficking case involving the former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO, where the victims alleged that they were told one thing, but really the acts were something else. Fraud probably doesn't necessarily apply in Diddy's case, but there's coercion, there's that power, right? So to the extent that the victims can say that Diddy blackmailed them with the video or with their music career and said that, if you don't do X, you're done in the music industry, that may satisfy the coercion component of sex trafficking. So prosecutors need something more to get from consensual sex to trafficking. So that's where the coercion part fits in.
And what do you make of the allegations of other famous faces either being around during the assaults or Diddy allegedly doing the assaults just kind of out in the open, but none of the celebrities in the newest batch of lawsuits are being named?
Not yet. We've seen a celebrity A and B, and I'm sure that there is significant value for celebrities if they were witnesses or participants in the sex act to settle any claims to make sure that they are not named publicly in a lawsuit. So obviously these are civil plaintiffs attorneys who are filing these cases. These aren't prosecutors. So they may want to enter into a confidential settlement to extract as much money as they can from the celebrities, because obviously once they're named, we were all going to be talking about it here on Law and Crime. So you can't really unring that bell. So I think that's what may be going on. And that's why the celebrities haven't been named, at least not yet.
And Diddy's attorneys are seeking the release of names of his accusers. Do you think that'll happen?
I don't think so. It's too early right now. We're in the phase where the prosecution needs to turn over the evidence that they've extracted, the electronic data from the 96 devices. Obviously, before trial and well before trial, the prosecution needs to give the defense a witness list, needs to give them any prior statements of those witnesses. This is all set forth in different cases or the federal rules of criminal procedure. But right now, the government doesn't need to identify which of the 100+ victims they intend to call at trial, because it's really premature right now. There's a reason that the defense is doing this, by the way, a strategic reason. Obviously, many of the victims have filed as Jane Doe and John Does, and I'm sure many of them want to maintain their anonymity. By outing them, the defense may think that that may discourage or dissuade other people from coming forward, because then they'll be publicly known as an alleged victim of sexual assault or sex abuse.
Yeah, and amid that staggering number of lawsuits, too, what type of defenses does Diddy really have working for him in trial? Do you think he does have a shot at a fair trial?
Well, I think there's a shot at a fair trial. The thing is, does he have a shot of winning? And I think the answer is increasingly no. The sheer number of victims may just be too much. The defense may be overwhelmed because juries may disbelieve one victim or two or even three. But when you have dozens of victims who are coming forward and telling the same story, physical and sexual violence. I went to a party, I was given a drink, I was drugged. I don't remember much, but I remember Diddy being on top of me and being sexually assaulted. And everyone's telling the same story. It's possible for one witness to lie or victim, but is it really possible for this many? Highly unlikely. The other challenge, of course, is that video evidence. Much of this was recorded, and no matter what, people can lie, but video doesn't lie. So I think it's going to be a very difficult case for Combs to defend.
Now, let's just talk hypothetical here. Say Diddy gets off on the federal charges. What happens to all the civil lawsuits against him? Do you think there's a chance of him settling the suits or litigating them? What are your thoughts?
In the unlikely event that Diddy gets off on the criminal charges, he still has to face those civil claims. And obviously, there is a much lower standard in civil lawsuits, just preponderance of the evidence, slightly more likely than not, 50.1%. And we've seen cases where a criminal defendant has gotten off, but they've lost a civil lawsuit. The most famous case, of course, being O.J. Simpson, who was found liable in the wrongful death lawsuit. So even if Diddy wins, he's probably going to have to spend tens of millions of dollars in legal fees to get through the criminal case. Now, these civil cases, they've all stayed or been put on hold because obviously the criminal case has priority and Diddy has a Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. But those would all pick back up once the criminal case is over. So it's certainly possible that Diddy settles with dozens or 100 more plaintiffs, but likely if someone was indeed raped, I don't think there's going to be enough money to pay all these victims, frankly.
And with so much time until trial, we'll kind of have to wait and see how this all plays out. Nima, thank you so much for your time today. I always appreciate it.
Of course, thanks for having me as always.
Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him and has denied all the accusations made against him in civil lawsuits. He's set to appear in court again on December 18th, and his trial is slated for May of 2025. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.